So like I shared with you guys, we went to the Nutcracker on a couple of days ago, and it was really fun. While we were there, on 3 different occasions, my oldest son leaned over and asked me, "Are they married?" to one of the scenes in the ballet. And I was like, "No, we'll talk about it in the car after the show, you know." And then he leaned over again and he asked me very doubtfully, "Is this appropriate?" Or is this inappropriate?" he asked me. And I was like, "We'll talk in the car, you know." Then there was the intermission and the kids switched seats. So now my younger son was sitting next to me, and he leaned over and he said, "Mama, I keep seeing her underwear." And I was like, "We'll talk about it in the car." So my first feeling about all that is I'm so glad they noticed that there's something wrong. This isn't okay. This isn't normal, because nobody's ever told them that there's anything wrong. That is their natural innocence prior to being desensitized to it being, it's all right, it's just the ballet uniform, you know. That is a child's mind, the innocence before they're desensitized and told by the world, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's the arts. We're allowed to be inappropriate and immodest in the arts. So my first thought is, cool. So then we told them in the car, we're like, "Guys, we're so glad you noticed that stuff. That is right on. That is weird that there's a man and a lady that are not married acting like they're married on stage, touching each other in ways that are not okay. Like, I'm not gonna let some man touch me like that, you know." And it's so good that you notice that they're like half naked, you know. You're right, that is weird that they're up there half naked, you know. And it's good that you asked, "Is that her underwear? Because I keep seeing it up her skirt," you know. And we told them it's actually called a leotard. It just has a different name, but it covers the same amount as an underwear. It's just like an underwear. And you're right, it does show too much. It is odd and strange and weird to see somebody doing a split on stage and you see like their whole butt and crotch, you know? It's weird. So I'm glad you noticed that stuff, you guys. It is weird. We're not gonna say it's sinful and wrong, and we're not gonna go to plays or ballets, but just be aware that as you get older, people are going to tell you it's okay because it's a movie, or it's okay because it's the theater, or it's okay because it's a play, it's okay, it's gymnastics, it's okay, it's ballet, it's okay, it's just acting. So that's not okay. What you're thinking and feeling right now, that's correct. And the world is going to tell you otherwise. That doesn't mean it's sinful, let's not go watch it. Of course, there might, we didn't go into the possibilities that there might be some that's sinful, you don't go watch that. We were just being really general. And we don't think the people on stage are sinning, but we have made the decisions that we've made and not pursued some things because we would feel really weird, you know, being in that position. So that's why we haven't done it. And we hope that you guys will pursue something that won't put you in those awkward situations where you have to justify being half naked or letting someone touch you, or you touching someone else in front of all these people, you know? Well, I brought this up to some friends and they didn't like agree with me. It seemed, it wasn't like a real long discussion, it was very short, and I was like surprised, but that's not uncommon for me to be surprised when someone doesn't agree with me, because I usually have such strong opinions. It's like, what? You don't agree? How? So I was curious to know like what you guys think. Like, do you think I'm being crazy to extreme? Do you think you're right? We have been desensitized to be okay with it, but it is obviously weird and immodest. That doesn't mean boycott it. Or are you on the other extreme where you have boycotted it because you don't want your kids to see women doing splits with this much of their privates covered, you know? Like, what do you think about it all? Have you never thought about it before? And now that I'm mentioning it, you're like, wow, that's true. We're just so desensitized. We don't care, you know? I wonder what historically the church has done or thought of it, you know, when the arts first started hundreds of years ago and sensuality began to be a part of them. you know, art that has nudity in it. Like, do you show that to your kids? Are you okay with it? Is there a time you wait to show them? Like, what are your thoughts on all that? Mine have seen 2 paintings, both times by accident, and they both have been like, what is this? Why is this here? You know, they've noticed it right away. I do see a sensitivity to it in mine. Like, they acknowledge it very, like, I've never pointed these things out to them, neither has Hector. So it's interesting to me that they're so aware. Even we watched Pride and Prejudice, I just had it on a few weeks back, and there's 2 scenes where there's a lot of cleavage hanging out, and both times my son looked away and he was like, that's really inappropriate. And I didn't show him, point it out. It was very brief, but he noticed it. So I'm just like, oh, he's like really sensitive to noticing that stuff, which might be, you know, hard for him later in the future. But for now, it's just interesting to me. So yeah, I would just love to hear like your whole thoughts on where you stand with the arts. I love the arts. I want to go to as many as much theater as we can, as much ballet and plays and all that. We love all of that. We love it. But of course we're selective. We're not going to go see Rent, you know, with our kids. So yeah, just like on the classics, you know, like I remember I went to see the opera Turandot by Puccini, and there was one scene where the Sultan is like promising the guy, like, don't go after the princess, don't go after Turandot, I'll give you this, you know, if you go have a seat right there, I'll be right with you. I'll give you all these women if you just stop, don't pursue Turandot. And they like take off their robes, and it's like this flesh colored full body leotard, and they're like doing this sensual dance on the floor all around him, and that's like really awkward. Like if we had taken our kids to see this classic opera by Puccini and that had happened, I would have been like, oh my goodness, you know. So yeah, just curious, just thinking through all of that. Again, not standing firm on saying it's right or wrong, just saying, come on, you guys, let's acknowledge that it is immodest because you're half naked. Come on, you know, let's like agree with that. And then what do you do with that, you know? So that's my question to you guys. I'm curious to hear what you think.